Contacts northwest.
Death and video games are old bosom buddies. Since we started canceling out opposing blips on ancient arcade monitors, elimination has been our most popular interaction with other entities and game spaces. On multiplayer servers, death has become so constant in many cases that it is just a minor annoyance. We are rarely so impatient when playing video games than when we are waiting for a 5-second respawn counter to tick down. When death is more common than a credit card transaction in your world, how can you design any one occurrence to have gravity and purpose? For many years, the solution was melodrama borrowed straight from Hollywood. Programmers and producers designing histrionic microplays, introducing charming NPCs with the specific purpose of killing them front and center for a cheap spike in drama. The tradition has been mocked and parodied relentlessly, again, especially in the multiplayer-driven shooter market. But such a prevalent trope has, on occasion, made the exceptions to the rule more prominent. Even in a series as loaded with trite story arcs and rampant jingoism as Call of Duty, there have been occasions of impactful death. And no occasion was more sobering than our introduction to modern warfare.
This is Big Bird. Package secured, returning to base. Out.
The mission known as the Coup is a journey through a disrupted government in a small but oil-rich nation near Saudi Arabia. The player is Yasir Al-Fulani, a noted figure in the region en route to his execution. We have control over Al-Fulani's perspective only, powerless as we are forcibly taken to Russian ultra-nationalist leader Imran Zakiev. At Zakiev's order, Revolutionary Commander Khaled al-Assad executes us at point-blank range. It is a bit generous to say we play as Al-Fulani in the usual sense, but being in control over the first-person perspective does make being headshot a more intimate experience. The death of Al-Fulani is the catalyst for the entire modern warfare story, proving al-Assad's forces a serious threat, with Zakiev as the mastermind. Al-Fulani's death also provides an excellent point of comparison for the most effective death in Call of Duty storytelling. Act 1 of Modern Warfare, and the player's expectations for another straightforward military love fest of a game ends with the mission dubbed Shock and Awe.
Pushing objective. 30 seconds.
Outlaw, this is Deadly. We'll take out the big targets.
It is purposefully one of the more intense and violence-saturated stages of the game. Players must gun down a seemingly bottomless supply of rooftop aggressors by helicopter before sprinting through machine gunners on foot, then returning to another helicopter for a second aerial assault. At one point, terrorist forces shoot down your support heli, named Deadly, necessitating the rescue of its pilot. What follows next was one of the biggest surprises of the 2007 gaming year, and a decisive tonal shift that the franchise has arguably failed to sustain. The mission's primary objective, displayed as capture al-Assad, is never accomplished. Indeed, we are once again reminded of al-Assad's cruel and unrelenting nature by how he escapes. The terrorist detonates a nuclear warhead in his own country, and player-controlled United States Marine Corps Sergeant Paul Jackson and the rest of First Force Recon die in the blast. But unlike the final moments of Al-Fulani's life, we retained limited movement faculties as Sergeant Jackson during his final minute alive. Whatever we do is futile, though, as Jackson's vision inevitably fades to white. The end to this mission is the pitch-black mirror to the multitude of triumphant victories in the Call of Duty franchise's many campaigns. Jackson, a by-the-FPS mold badass capable of taking far more than the lethal amount of bullets, dies raspy and irradiated. No triumphant cheering and hoisting of guns in the air, just a slow and weak collapse into oblivion. This can be seen as a dramatic demolishing of the narrative tropes Call of Duty had built its brand on. Modern Warfare was, at least for this mission, presented in a cynical, almost fatalistic light, The unified moral fronts of World War II had given way to a new age of war fought in disparate pockets of worldwide combat. Jackson was our primary character for the first act, part of a squad of competent U.S. Marines cut from the same cloth as their forebears from the previous century's wars. In any Call of Duty before this, Jackson and company may have survived to pump their fist and wave the flag. But the designers at Infinity Ward present this modern age of combat as a chaotic right hook to Western competence. Much in the same way World War I's chemical weapons destroyed the idea of gentlemanly European battle. Even the name of the support copter, Deadly, was relevant. A chest pound of a name, similar to those given to heavy artillery in many past Call of Duty entries. The copter's fall and First Force Recon's doomed rescue of the pilot comes across as a wake-up call, a warning of what comes from clinging onto that kind of straightforward bravado. Jackson and his company's retrieval of the jeopardized pilot, despite radio warnings of nuclear device confirmation, is a kind of damn the rules, we don't leave men behind objective we've played dozens of times. Only here, it leads to obliteration.
Southwest of your position towards the crash site. We got 90 seconds, Jackson. Get the pilot. No one gets left behind. Jackson, pull her out of there and get back to the LZ. Do it!
7 years after Modern Warfare, Call of Duty was again making meme headlines. A funeral service allowed players to press X to pay respects to a fallen comrade. A flaccid attempt at permitting interactivity in a confined, somber setting. While the series has in many ways failed to continue in the more complex direction seen in Shock and Awe, our last mission with Sergeant Jackson remains impressive for its ability to stop and make a point in a campaign designed to build up as much adrenaline as possible. Not enough shooters mediate on the nature of the conflicts they place their players in. It is far simpler to drive nationalism up and pump the adrenaline in. But for a moment, when the biggest shooter franchise in gaming history changed eras, a brief but powerful reflection wasn't skipped over in the interest of time. Hey everybody, thank you so much for listening. My name is Dan Long, otherwise known as Indy. You can catch me on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/Indy, or you can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/TheRealIndy. Thank you so much.
What were you thinking, you stupid idiot?